All right, my friends, today we're looking at the NearStream VM20. Now, this is a live streaming camera. Now, this is, or can actually put out 4K. I believe it's 4K 30. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to unbox this, of course. Then we're going to set it up, try it out with its native app. I believe it has a native phone app. So we're going to see how that works. We're also going to see what it's like in programs like OBS, see how it works with that. And then we'll kind of give you a rundown, of course, of the positives, maybe some of the negatives that we find along the way, and give you our final thoughts on this new product. Now, the other nice thing, too, is that when NearStream reached out to us to see if we wanted to take a look at this, they were just going to send us one, but I asked for two because I'm like, you know what? It's really about being able to do some multicam with these. So they sent me a second one. So that's excellent. So we'll be able to actually try it out with two of them just to see how they work with each other. Anyways, this is the box here. This is the NearStream. Again, this is the VM20. I believe this is one of their newer ones that they have out here. As you can see on the box, has a 10 times optical, a lossless zoom, plus a 40 times hybrid zoom, 4K UHD image quality. It has an 8 microphone array, AI noise canceling, up to 5 meters for clear voice pickup, and has an RF remote control with 160-degree functionality, I guess. Anyways, that's kind of the box right there. Let's open it up. So, what do we get inside this thing? We get a bunch of stuff, actually. So you're going to get, it looks like your power cable, and this long power cable. It is USB-A to USB-C, so you get a nice long one of those. This is going to be your remote control. So it's going to have, I guess, all the features that you would need to control the switching back and forth between the cameras. You're going to get a warranty card. You're going to get your quick start guide, and you're going to get your full user manual. What's the printing like? Reasonable. That's good, because a lot of times, as you guys know, I'm always like, I can't read it because the things come, they're too small. And then you get the camera, and that looks to be it inside here. Yep, that's it. That's all. So we've got two of those, which is excellent. Anyways, this is the camera. It is chunky, for sure. It is chunky. So I'm just gonna put that over there, and that's it. They're nice. I have to say though, build quality wise, you get that, and you're like, yeah, that's got some substance to it. You know, you're not going to feel like, you know, you've been cheaped out or anything like that. It feels like it's good quality in the hands. Now, again, I haven't tested it, so we'll find out what the image quality is like and go from there. Anyways, there's going to be your lens on the front. You're going to have a tripod mount on the bottom. So if you guys want to plug this in or mount this on a tripod, which you're probably going to want to. It also says that it has needs a 5-volt 3 amp power to run this. So if you have a battery pack, you should be able to actually plug a battery pack into this to get it to run, or again, plug it straight in. You're going to have a microphone in jack, which is excellent because even though it does have these mic array, or this mic array up here, which is probably good if you do want better quality, or if this camera is going to be further away, you should be able to plug in, let's say, a wireless mic receiver and transmitter for this and get way better audio, as long, of course, as the actual audio board inside here does a decent job. There's going to be your what is this, your battery. So this is your 5-volt 3 amp right there. It does have a USB-C connector. It's got a RG45 plug on the back, so if you want to hardwire this, you can, and an HDMI out. So if you want to actually have this, look, I would think, plugged into a monitor, you could as well, just to kind of see how that functions. Anyways, that's kind of cool. That's it right there. What we're going to do now, of course, is we're going to actually just plug it in and see how it actually functions. Now, before we actually get into using this and figuring out if we think it's actually any good, I got some notes here just to kind of go over what they kind of talk about in regards to specs. And again, some positives, possibly some negatives in regards to this. So first off, let's talk about the actual quality out of this. So again, right out of the box, it does feel solid. It's really well built. It comes in, I believe, 136 millimeters by 72 millimeters by 98 millimeters. So you know what, it looks like it's chunky, right? But it should be a good enough size for you guys to be able to fit it just about anywhere. It's not necessarily the lightest camera in the world, but if you were to compare it up against a small mirrorless camera, it'd be very comparable. It comes in at about 550 grams. That's not, again, heavy in comparison to the fact that it feels like it's so well built. So, you know, it does have in it, you know, pretty nice lens. It does have, again, this full 8-array microphone setup. So all that kind of is going to be adding to the weight. So I'll take weight over a degradation of quality any day. In regards to the actual video quality, this comes in at 4K resolution at, I believe, 30 frames per second. It is using the Sony StarViz CMOS sensor. So this should ensure that you get fairly good low light performance. It does have that 10 times optical zoom plus the additional digital zoom. I'm not a big fan of digital, but we'll see how it works. But this could provide, you know, pretty good versatility, whether you're going to be using this in a lecture hall or you're going to be streaming this at a live event, or trying to just record, you know, somewhat professional. I'm going to say somewhat professional quality of content. It does have, I believe, HDR support, which should help balance some of the highlights and shadows. And it does have, as you guys can see on the back again, multiple output options. So it does have that USB, HDMI, and the RJ45. So depending on what kind of streaming setup you have, you should be okay with figuring out which one of these is going to be best for you. Some negatives, of course. Again, you got to look at this in regards to price point, but there are some negatives. Number one is for those of us that shoot 4K, there is no 60 frames per second in this. So if you are looking for ultra smooth motion, you'll have to settle. I believe you can go down to 1080p 60. So that can be something, especially if you are going to be like a game streamer and you are capturing that footage in 60 frames, then, you know, 4K 30 is not going to necessarily match up as well. But again, you should be able to shoot, I believe, in 1080p 60. So for a lot of us, that's probably what we capture our games in anyway. So it should be okay in that field. This does have an 80-degree field of view, so decent. But some may want it to be a bit wider, so you may look at that and say it's fairly narrow. But again, we'll test that out a little bit more when we actually have it set up. Audio performance, it does have this 8 microphone array, as you guys can see at the top here. So it has about a 16-foot pickup distance, which is actually pretty impressive. So even in a large room, you should be able to get pretty clear voice pickup. It has AI noise canceling and beamforming. So this would help reduce any kind of background noise, making it pretty good, I would think. Ideal maybe for those that are doing, let's say, online teaching. You're going to be using this for things like business calls. And of course, if you're going to be doing live streaming, because of course you're going to be within that distance. It does have, of course, that external mic input, as you can see right here. So you'll be able to plug in an external mic if you want. Now, the one nice thing, or one thing that I kind of wish it did have, was because it does have that ability to plug in an external mic, it would have been nice for them somewhere on here to put a cold shoe on it. Just something, even if you could just, you know, something that you could remove or put on if you wanted. So maybe something that you could stick on the side. But that's just me kind of trying to give you guys all the pluses and negatives that are out there. While the built-in mic is probably going to be good for, you know, that plug and play experience, it's definitely not going to replace the sound quality that you'd get from like a pro mic. So if you are going to possibly be using this for content creation, I would definitely recommend figuring out how to pick and choose your mic that you want, and then use that, even if you have to mount that off to the side on, let's say, a tripod or something like that. AI noise canceling should be decent, but from my own uses in products that have noise canceling, it kind of gets away from that natural sound, that natural feel, that ambient sound that's just naturally there. And because of that, some softer words too may be pulled out. You can usually tell when there's some kind of AI noise canceling. So just kind of be aware of that as well. It has that. Again, we'll test it to see what it's like and our thoughts on it. Compatibility with OBS Studio, as far as they said when they sent this out, they actually asked me to make sure I tested it with OBS Studio. So I would say right off the start, right, it should work, right? So the VM20 is fully compatible with OBS Studio. So it should be a great choice for anybody that is looking at streaming, possibly the programs like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, or possibly even Zoom. It's a plug and play setup, which means that it should instantly appear as a video source in programs like OBS or OBS Studios. So no drivers or extra software would be required. And again, you have that multiple output options. So you have your USB mode. So this should work immediately with OBS Studio. So no extra setup. It has that RTSP mode. So this would be for anyone that's using like a network-based streaming setup. So you would just have to enter the RTSP, I hope I'm saying that right, RTSP URL inside OBS. And then it has the HDI mode. So if you are someone that is using, let's say, a capture card, you'd be able to actually send out through HDMI into the HDMI in on your capture card, and you should be good to go. Now, a few other things, of course, just as positives, because this is designed really, I would say, for a beginner streamer, and maybe even intermediate, right? No complicated setup. That's going to be fantastic, right? Just the fact that you can plug it in and it should be good to go. Super, super awesome. It's a big win. It does have that remote. So it has that 360-degree RF remote, which is this guy right here. So this is a really nice addition. You should be able to use this to be able to control the cameras, do any kind of settings that you don't necessarily need a screen for, of course. But it's a nice remote that they sent you. And I do like the fact, actually, to be honest with you, that it's large. It's a good size remote, because I have had some companies send products and the remote is really small. So if you're, trying to work with it, you end up hitting the wrong buttons, but nice large remote, which is really good. It does have, I don't know if you can go in and manually set this, but auto exposure, auto white balance, and a 3D noise suppression, which should make the image look pretty polished, I would think. It's like just an auto setting on your traditional camera, really, without you guys having to go in and do any kind of additional tweaking, which again, kind of a nice thing for those of us that are beginners into this and really want it to be nice and easy. Now, again, there are some negatives in regards to this. Number one is because this is designed for streaming. It is designed not necessarily for just having it set up in a studio. No built-in battery, right? So this does require a power source. So as we saw, it says 5 volt, 3 amp on the back, I think. I think it's a 3. It could be a 5 volt, 1 amp. I have to verify. I don't know how or if there's a customizable piece of software. I know NearStream does make software. I'm hoping that it works with this, so we'll find out. So depending on your needs, again, we'll find out if the NearStream app actually functions with this. But if it does, cool. If it doesn't, that's kind of a downside. So number one, before we go really test this, who would I think this is possibly for? Online educators, for sure. Presenters. So they need something that's quick and easy to set up. Maybe you're someone that works from the home, but you go to the office or you go to location or whatever it is. And because of that, you need to be able to just plug it in and off you go. I think that's going to be great. Businesses, remote workers, who need, a nice professional, let's say, you're just going to be using it for Zoom or something like that. So a nice professional quality that's coming out of it. I think this is going to be fantastic for something like this. Streamers, again, depending if you need that 60 frames or not. But if you are someone that shoots possibly in 30 or that 1080p 60, I think, is all your need for that. And then I think that you're going to get a nice camera, again, with a lot of output options, depending on what kind of streaming setup you actually have. And then if you're someone that maybe is broadcasting or streaming from, let's say, a church or a training center, or you have a large meeting room or something like that. So maybe you're a company that, maybe even the quality is not as important as its reach, right? So you need something that has that really big zoom on it so you can get a decent wide shot, because maybe you're a church or something and you have your camera set up way in the back, maybe up in, the rafters kind of area. So being able to have that optical zoom plus that digital zoom could be a really nice feature. So who is it not for? As we said before, I don't think it's for gamers that capture and record and transmit everything in 4K 60, because it just doesn't have that, right? Also, like for me, I shoot fairly wide. If you look at the camera that I'm using now, I can reach out and touch the lens right here. So you're not going to get that wide field of view from this. So if that is something that's important to you, just be aware of that. You possibly won't get that. And if you are looking for, let's say, extensive customization to a camera, different frames, different recording formats, different abilities to expand the software, again, you may not get it in something like this. But all those things I've talked about without necessarily trying it. So we're going to go give this a try right now. We're going to set it up in my little office and we'll see what the quality is like. I'm actually going to see if we can record the next part with this. So bear with me as I go set it up. One sec. All right, so we have this all set up here. You guys will get a nice wide shot of how I have it set up here. I have one camera here just facing my keyboard, my desk, and one that's facing me. And to be honest with you, it's wider than I kind of thought it would be. So as long as you can get the camera far enough back, you should be good. Now, first off, you're going to have to go to NearStream US. Now, you don't need to do this, but it is recommended because you can actually now do some adjustments to the camera. So you'll see here, there's a software. You're going to go to NearSync. It's going to ask you if you want to download this for either Mac or Windows. So again, like if I came here and said NearSync, you'll see Windows download, Mac download, nice and simple. That downloads, install it. And then what happens is that you're going to get this application show up once you run it. And you can see I have two of them here. So you'll have the actual device info. You have device settings. Now, this is number one, the thing that I turned off because I couldn't figure out what was going on, is it defaulted to this auto framing. So what happens is it just, it zoomed right into my face. I was like, well, that's way too zoomy. I didn't really want that. So no good. So turn that to panorama, unless you wanted to just auto zoom into your face. You have your auto enabled, auto focus. If you need to flip these around, you can, et cetera, et cetera. You have your video settings if you want to play with your saturation brightness. Now, you usually get a screen that shows up, but I do have OBS running in the background, and it actually has these cameras hooked in. So it's kind of taking control of the system, but it would show up here so that you guys can play on it. So you could set HDR if you wanted. If you're in an area that uses 50 hertz or 60 hertz, you could do that as well. And then last but not least, you have a device update area. So as you can see here, it does say update. I just did updates on these, so it looks like there may actually be another update. So keep doing updates till they show up. They are fairly fast, so seems to work fine. But if you are happy with how it works out of the box, you don't need the software. OBS recognized it right away, and we were good to go. So I'm just going to hide this part here. So we'll just minimize that. And you can see here, this is, of course, OBS. Now, again, when I had that panorama, it zoomed in to like this area right here. And you can see here that I have this on this side right there. So we're going to actually transition that. So that would be nice. And delay-wise, it's actually not too bad. Now, there is a little bit of highlight blowout right here. But again, even inside OBS, if you wanted to, you could play around with that. You could do it in the NearStream software just to get that so that it was exposing a bit better. I believe I should be able to go into, let's see, one of these properties, maybe filters, maybe. Yeah, I should be able to add a filter, so I could add a filter here if I wanted to. Right now, I'm doing this all on a Mac, so just kind of be aware. But you could play around with it. And of course, because I've set up two scenes, I could come here and then just do a nice transition back and forth. That's kind of cool, right? So you got this nice back and forth. I can transition, however I want. And again, that's pretty good. actually surprised at how good the quality is. Way better than I actually expected it to. So I think that's actually really good. Now setting this up actually really easy. You'll see when I went in here. So I'll pretend like I'm doing another one. So let's say did a scene 4. Uh, Simple. You're gonna go to the plus. You're going to add a video capture device. You can see I had these existing ones, but if I wanted to create a new one, let's say I had another camera, all I would do is come in here and I could pick the NearStream. Now, the one thing I do wish would happen, and I don't know if it's because it's a Mac or because it's just, I do wish that when it detected 2 cameras with the exact same names, that it would call one VM20A or VM21 or 2 or something like that. Because, down the road, it gets a little confusing, especially when you're trying to set up audio, which one is actually which. Now, I don't know if that's an OBS thing. I don't know if it's a Mac thing. I don't know if it's a camera thing, but just kind of be aware of that. But nice and easy, you'd set that up. Also for audio, same deal. You'll have audio input. You'd create a new one, come in here, again, pick the actual camera, the NearStream cameras, and hit OK, and you've got audio recording. And you can see by their meters down here that it seems to be working pretty good. And you guys should be able to hear. I'll switch right now. Okay, so I had a little bit of an issue before. For some reason, it was actually a recording from the camera and this microphone. So I was getting a little bit of an echo. So anyways, now it should be just recording from this camera. So you guys should be able to get an idea of what this actually looks like. Again, this is the video that came from OBS Studio, recording with the 8 mic array out of the actual VM20. And distance wise, you can tell, like if I kind of step over here and hurt myself, right? You guys see the mic, but you guys should still be able to get an idea of sound quality as I'm moving around here just to stay in frame, right? It should be okay. So hopefully this gives you guys an idea of what the sound is actually like out of it. Again, as you get closer, I don't even know if the sound will change a lot, but at least it gives you an idea of what the sound out of the microphone is like. Not that you couldn't have this plugged into your computer as well, or you could have this plugged directly into the back of the NearStream. So if you wanted to be able to record audio straight from it, maybe you have one set up, you don't have a display like this, you're not running, maybe you're running a laptop and you're running out of ports, whatever it is, right? So you could actually have it that way. And that's probably what I would recommend if you were especially wanted to use like wireless mics and things like that. That would definitely be something that I would look into doing. Now, the other nice thing too is that if I kind of just close out of this, and I'll go back to this microphone right now. So if I close out of this, because it is actually, do you want to? Oh, no. So I'm going to stop that recording. Are you sure? Yes. Anyways, we're going to stop this, and it works. At least on the Mac, it works with everything. So maybe you just want one of these, or you're doing training. So you have 2 of these set up, but you're doing, like for me, I do a lot of Zoom training. So if I came in here, for instance, and I brought up Zoom, you'll see here, I'll just create a new meeting. There it is. Takes a second for it to pop in, but there we go. Looks nice and clean. Again, there's that little bit of blowout. I should be able to play around with that, I would think. But there's your video at the bottom, right? So if I wanted to switch, I could just switch it here and it would switch to this. A little bit of flicker when it does it, but again, not that big of a deal. And again, you know what? It looks really good. This is at full wide for sure. Now, if you were to, and I'll use this as a for instance, I'll go back to video here. Oops, turn my video back on. So I can get some video here. If you wanted to see how, let's say, the zoom actually worked, right? So you were just kind of curious about how that zoom is. So if I came out of here for a second and I went back to this one, you can see inside here, there's that panorama, or I could go auto framing. So if I save this, it should, I think, do an auto frame. Now, I don't know if this will need a restart. We'll find out for a minute. There it goes. See, auto framing. See how close that gets? Right? You can see the dots on my face right there. So not perfect. You can see it kind of bumping back and forth as I get behind the microphone a little bit. It doesn't quite understand, what it's seeing. It takes a little bit of time sometimes, but it can jump back and forth. To me, that's ridiculously close, right? Ridiculously close. And it does hunt a little bit. I think if I kind of came out of the shot, like down here, for instance, yeah, you'll see it. Let's kind of jump around, right? As it's trying to figure out where I am inside the frame, right? It's kind of bouncing a bit. I don't know if I came over here, if it would re-widen it. Yeah, so it re-wides, figures out where I am. Let's see if it'll jump back in a second. Yeah. So kind of a neat feature if you want that. It's a little abrupt for sure. And if I came in here, I'm wondering if it'll just move itself around. It does take, there it goes. It does take some time. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that. So of course I would come in here and switch it back to panorama, save that. Once it's saved, you really don't need to up that. So final thoughts on this product. You know what? If you're someone that may currently be running, mirrorless cameras or something like that, is the quality going to be as good as that? No, for sure, right? Like if you look at that camera versus, let's say, this camera, this is actually a Sony A7C. The Sony is definitely better, but an A7C camera is Canadian dollars, $2,000. So you're not going to be getting that quality. Plus, I have an additional, like a lens on there, which that lens is $700-800. So you could buy a super multi-cam setup with the VM20s to have just a ridiculous setup with multi-cameras going on for all kinds of different angles for a fraction of the price. Do I wish that they had a mobile app? I do wish that this one had a mobile app, because I do know a lot of their cameras have an iPhone Android app that you can use. This one doesn't have that. I tried using it just to see if it would find the cameras or do anything like that, and the simple answer is no. It's really designed for, almost like a super high-end webcam, which actually is fairly good price for, if you put it up against a high-end webcam, you're gonna get that really nice quality out of it. So, if you're looking at, I think these come in around the $300-ish, $400-ish, I think US, for a single. For like $1,000, you could get 2 or 3 of these. So that's actually a really good price to have a multi-cam setup. And, nowadays, with all kinds of extra software, if you were just recording to it, then you should have almost like zero issues being able to play around with it and do some color correcting and things like that. Image quality, especially if you are going to be using this for like a business meeting to be able to stream, so you wanted to set up multiple cameras with this, have a little computer set up so that you could use OBS to actually mix back and forth to whatever. I think this would be perfect. I think if you're doing Zoom meetings and things like that where you want a good quality, you really only have to get one, but you could get 2, so you could actually have one facing up maybe to like a whiteboard or something like that, and then another one that's facing you. So that would be really a cool setup. And of course, if you're someone that's doing like let's say like a church, right? So someone that is broadcasting their church sermon out to the world, perfect, right? You could have one that's zoomed way in and pick up the person giving the sermon, and then you could have a nice wide shot, and you could just kind of toggle between the two. Yeah, like for the price point, I think it's actually really good. I do again wish that there was possibly an internal battery, so if you did have to set this up somewhere, that you didn't have to rely on it being powered. But it doesn't seem to draw a ton of power, and because of that, if you had a bunch of multiple battery packs, like good sized battery packs, you should have no problem being able to just set little battery packs up to power these, kind of remotely, which is a nice feature. Yeah, I think bang for buck, it's a great option for those that require that. I do wish, and again, this is just wishing, I know that they would have to charge a lot more. I do wish that they had 4K 60, and I'm not 100% sure if you can even do 1080p 60. I'm not, because I went into the settings to look, and there's no real options that I could find in the software to be able to change things like frame rates or resolution or anything like that. So a little iffy there. Plus, I did have some issues with their actual software in locating both cameras. It found both cameras, but for some reason, whenever I had the two of them set up together that they were both showing, it just sometimes, not all the time, sometimes would have issues when I switched from one to the other. It would show the preview of the wrong camera and it wouldn't let me do some color adjustments. So their software, not 100% bug free, I guess. So there are some issues with it. So just kind of be aware of that as well. So again, if you're someone that wants that control of the camera, you know, being able to change all that resolution and frame rates and things like that, you may not be getting it. It really is designed to have some color correction, right? For contrast, exposure, hue, things like that. But other than that, it's really quite simple and basic in that terms. So say for me, I would want a bit more control of that. But that is something that they could change in a software update down the road, which I hope they do. Anyways, I think for the price, it's a great option for those of you that need multicam and you want to be able to stream out to whatever. And yeah, that's it. I'll leave links down below to where you can pick this up, and we will see you guys next video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys in the next day or so. Later.